Welcome to a Vanguard news video without the bullshit. Let's get started. I know some of her cards were leaked last week, but get ready to have your pointy pencils petrified rock hard as Sienna's right line and supports are finally revealed for DLBT04. Make sure warm-up exercise is done. Sienna is your typical D-series starter that's doing some stretches before she starts to break the spines of every giant robot and dragon on the planet. Relying on snakes when lost. Sienna, while on Vanguard at the end of the battle she was attacked by a rear guard unit, and you didn't put a card on the guardian circle for that battle, makes your opponent discard a card, otherwise that rear guard is bound instead. And when she's ridden over by a grade 2 Sienna card, you can pay 2 Soul Blast to draw a card and your opponent returns all of their front row rear guards to their hand. Bushiroad is finally exploring hand disruption mechanics again. Since Seraph Purelight will never get new support, Anuba Tamamain just got themselves something to fill the void while waiting for Shiranui. Perfectly prepared to deal with the heat. Sienna, while on Vanguard at the end of the battle she was attacked by a rear guard unit, and you didn't put a card on the guardian circle for that battle, makes your opponent discard a card, otherwise that rear guard is bound instead. And when she's ridden over by a grade 3 Sienna card, add either a trigger or blitz order from your drop zone to your hand. Here we have a new example of how lyrical Monasteria cards are never punished. By discarding either cards for your grade 3 right turn, you still get it back for free. Gorgonized Sienna while on Vanguard gets an extra critical and drive check if your opponent has 2 or less units in total on their front row rear guard and guardian circle. While on Vanguard, you can put a trigger unit from hand into your soul to give herself 15k power for that battle. And while on Vanguard at the end of the battle she was attacked by a rear guard unit, and you didn't put a card on the guardian circle for that battle, makes your opponent discard a card, otherwise that rear guard is bound instead. This is the most punishing mind game card in the D series yet. The first ability forces the opponent to guard with 3 cards if they don't have any rear guards, in order to turn off her extra crit and drive check. Her second ability makes it that all your counter heals that were bad in certain matchups still become 15k shields, or just turn your draw triggers in general into 15k shields as well. This is truly a never punished deck. This is like Utopia Notch while on rear guard, lets you pay 1 Soul Blast when she attacks a Vanguard, while you have a grade 3 or higher Sienna Vanguard, to return all of your opponent's front row rear guards to their hand, and she gets 5k power. Imagine bouncing your opponent's on place ability rear guards, just so your Vanguard can potentially get an extra crit and drive check. Wonderful Wandlu power when placed on rear guard makes you return one of your opponent's front row rear guard to their hand. And while on rear guard, you can put herself into your soul when your grade 3 or higher Sienna Vanguard attacks or is attacked, to give your Vanguard 10k power for that battle. This is the kind of defensive options that other right lines could only dream of getting someday. For once it's a good thing that Gendiva is still a thing. Lavish Ranajuno once per turn while on rear guard lets you pay 1 Soul Blast if you have a grade 3 or higher Sienna Vanguard, to return one of your opponent's front row rear guard to their hand. Then give your Vanguard and herself 10k power if you Soul Blasted a trigger unit for this card's ability cost. The never punished tradition continues as all of the triggers you soul charge with Sienna's ability actually has some benefits. Jack Operator Etius when placed on rear guard makes you return one of your opponent's front row rear guards back to their hand. And while on rear guard, you can pay 1 counter blast when she attacks a Vanguard, while you have a Sienna Vanguard, to get 5k power for each of your opponent's open front row rear guards. And you draw a card if she gets 10k or more power from this ability. It would be hilarious to use this in premium format against Araxel Marcus Spammer. Here is Sienna's LSR artwork in which she does a face reveal for the players who can grind their rocks hard enough to afford it. Finally, the Japanese version of DSS-11 reveals Dragon Empire's ride line which is themed after a blacksmith dragon called Zedo Lance. Guess we can say that some of Buddyfight's artwork assets weren't wasted and were repurposed to be a new deck in Vanguard. Meanwhile, on top of the pointless reprint of Mask of Hydragram for the English version of DSS-11, it'll also come with the large storage box, a rubber playmat, 3 sets of going first and second cards, and 6 dividers. This sorry for an excuse cash grab couldn't even bother to reprint the masks forms themselves. Bushiroad could have at least used this opportunity to reprint tournament promo cards that players actually need. There's no such thing as a holiday miracle, only capitalism. And that concludes this Vanguard news video. Be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments if Shoujo Doji is Sienna's biggest fan.